Hi, welcome everybody to this week's Healthy Hangout. I'm so glad that you're here. Anyone that might be joining us for the first time, I am Karen Mays, and I've been a coach in our Health Warriors community for actually more than 10 years now. I fell in love with it first as a client because it was more comprehensive and accessible than anything else I had tried, and I had tried a lot. And tonight we are in just a little bit. I'm going to be handing things over to Janet to share with us. Janet, by the way, is one who started the Health Warriors community. Um, but before I do that, I want to do a quick check-in. So if you're able to be in the chat, drop one word that tells us about your energy. How are you arriving at the meeting tonight? And Leah, if you want to unmute and just say it, you're welcome to do that. But whatever you're able to do. Janet, what's your one word?
Excited.
Oh, that's a good one. We have focused, we have low. Oh, sorry, iPad. I don't know who iPad is, but um,
How about high,
hopefully, hopefully you'll feel a little higher, brighter. But by the time you leave here tonight,
how about
um,
hydrated, Karen?
your word is hydrated. I like that, Lee.
Yeah, it's being so hot where I live. Yeah, I gotta stay hydrated.
Uh, yeah, yep. Take care of yourself. That hydration, it's really clear about hydration is self-care when it's like that, right? Well, thank you everybody for sharing that. And the energy that we arrive with is actually the perfect way to transition into tonight's topic because it is a real metric of health that Janet's going to share with us about, and it's visceral fat. It's not about the aesthetics. It's about what's happening on the inside at the metabolic level. And I'm going to hand it over to Janet because she'll do a much better job of talking about it than I
Oh,
could.
hi everybody. My name is Janet Blum, and I've been coaching with Optavia since 2011. It's my passion, and I'm going to share a little bit about what a word you might have been hearing lately. You're probably hearing about metabolic health, and you're probably hearing the word visceral fat, but maybe you haven't. So I'm kind of curious if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat. Are you aware of what visceral fat is? Have you heard of it? We don't even have to use the chat if anybody wants to just unmute. I'd love to hear and just get an idea of where you're at. So Mickey says yes. Karen says yes. Okay. All right. Well, so Optavia has really been moving towards talking about metabolic health, and that's actually something that we've really helped people to become more metabolically healthy for the last 15 plus years, 15 years that I've been doing this, and longer, but we've really never been able to actually say that we can reverse metabolic syndrome and create metabolic health. And the reason we can say it now is because there were 16-week studies done with clients on the 5-in-1 plan who also spoke to their coach on a regular basis and followed the program for 16 weeks. And that study was published, and we are now able to claim that we can reverse metabolic syndrome. So before I talk about visceral fat, let me just make sure everybody knows what metabolic syndrome is. There's a cluster of conditions that increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. And these 5 conditions, if you have any 3 of these, it's considered metabolic syndrome. And if you have any one of these, it's considered metabolic dysfunction. And 90% of Americans have metabolic dysfunction. It's super common. So just to name because the 5 conditions, one is high blood pressure or on blood pressure medications. The other is high triglycerides of over 150 or on medication, blood sugar of over 100 or on medication for blood sugar, and a low HDL. HDL is the protective cholesterol in your lipid profile. So if it's less than 50 for a female or less than 40 for a male, then that's a condition. And lastly, waist circumference. So if your waist was measured at the belly button and it was more than 35 inches for a female or 40 for a male, that would be the fifth condition. So these these are the conditions that are caused in big part from visceral fat in our body. So when we talk about losing fat, we're talking about two types of fat. One is subcutaneous fat, and that's the fat that you don't like. That's the fat on your body that you can pinch. It's right under your skin. So we all have that. And that's subcutaneous fat. And we do lose that when we are on program. But the real important fat is the fat that we can't see, and that's called visceral fat. And visceral fat is stored deep in your abdomen and it's around your internal organs. And even if you look slim, if you have a lot of visceral fat, it could affect your health. So what happens is we all have some visceral fat. You need some visceral fat around your organs, but when it becomes too much, when it's increased and it becomes too much, it starts to wrap around your organs and cause them not to work as well. So that's why, if it wraps around the pancreas and prevents the pancreas from putting out enough insulin, you could see how you would be at a higher risk for type 2 diabetes or insulin resistance. It also will wrap around your liver, around your intestines, all of your internal organs, and that's dangerous to the health. Well, so the other thing it does is it releases hormones and inflammatory substances. So when you have a lot of visceral fat, you have a lot of inflammation going in your body, and nobody wants that. So that's the bad news, but the good news is our program will target the loss of visceral fat, and that's the first fat that your body will start to burn when you go into fat burn. So that's great news because we all have that tool right in our toolbox to be able to decrease our visceral fat. So how do we even know what our visceral fat is? One indication is that waist measurement. Usually, when that waist measurement is high, you probably do have a high visceral fat. But the other thing that we've been using with our clients is a bioimpedance scale. So I use the Renfro scale with my clients. It's about 20 or $25, depending on what month it is from Amazon. And the bioimpedance scale works where it actually sends a tiny little electrical current, if you will, through your body, and it can tell like what is body fat and what is bone and muscle. It's kind of crazy to think that it can do that, and certainly you don't feel a thing, but this gives you some data, including a number for your visceral fat. And it's not 100% accurate, but what I love about it is we can watch the trend. And so when my clients get their initial data, maybe their visceral fat is whatever, it could be anywhere from 3 to 20. The highest I've seen so far is 22. When someone gets on that 5-in-1 plan, we start seeing that number coming down. And frankly, that's the most exciting thing to me. It's more exciting than what the number on the scale is, because this is about health, right? And lowering that visceral fat is going to lower the risk for the diseases that I mentioned, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, high cholesterol, and inflammation, which is key. So really, really exciting that we can target that visceral fat and the subcutaneous fat and start seeing those numbers get better so that we will have less brain fog, fatigue, inflammation. As I said, I have clients sometimes that after a week, they're like, I don't know, my knees don't hurt as much. I say, well, that's not because of weight loss. You did lose weight this week, but you didn't lose that much that it would really be affecting your knees, but it's the inflammation that's decreasing even the first week. So that's pretty much what I have to say about visceral fat. And I would love to hear any of your comments. Like, have you noticed things like less brain fog and less fatigue and um, maybe lowering, blood sugars and things that lowering that visceral fat actually can do? maybe we can have a little discussion about it. But before we do, we're going to show you a really, really short video, and I will give you a little warning. It's a little bit graphic. It's showing the internal, what's going on internally in your body. So I'm just giving that as a heads up. I mean, it's not like super gross, but it's a little bit gross. So if Karen can play that, I think it shows really drives the point home on visceral fat.
Yeah, let me know if you can't hear or see this. I'm about to share. Okay.
Right.
The fat accumulated inside your body does not sit idly or stay in one place. Instead, it spreads silently, seeping deep into the abdomen and wrapping itself around organs like a slow tightening net. It engulfs the liver first, coating it until the tissue stiffens and struggles to process toxins. Then it slides toward the pancreas, surrounding it so completely that its signals for insulin weaken and blood sugar begins to rise, as if the body is losing contact with itself. From there, the fat presses into the kidneys, squeezing the delicate filters that clean the blood. Pressure builds, tiny vessels narrow, and the kidneys work harder with every passing hour. The heart feels the strain next. Visceral fat releases chemicals that thicken blood, raise tension in the arteries, and force the heart to pump with more power than before, wearing it down beat by beat. Even the lungs are not safe. Fat in the abdomen pushes upward, limiting how deeply the lungs can expand, making each breath slightly shallower than the last. And through chemical signals, this fat reaches the brain too, disturbing hunger cues, fogging clarity, and altering mood. It all happens quietly, invisibly, reshaping the body long before you ever notice a single sign.
So if you were able to see that, you could like visually see the fat surrounding the organs. And so before I hand it back to Karen, I want to just review the kinds of things like what can we do to decrease visceral fat, right? And it's really all about what we're doing with our Optavia program. So there's dietary changes, right? So having more protein can help reduce the appetite and promote fat loss, especially in the abdomen area. Having more fiber, which we do get 25 grams of fiber when we're on the 5-in-1 plan. Limiting sugar and refined carbs. Okay, we're doing that, right? Hopefully, it's something we're always working on anyway. And staying hydrated because really water can actually help stoke your metabolism. So the things that we are doing all have a reason. In terms of exercise, regular aerobic exercise like walking or bicycling or swimming can help burn calories and obviously reduce overall fat, including belly fat. Incorporating weightlifting is just so key because resistance exercise can help build the muscle, and that helps increase your metabolism and aids in that fat loss. And then just some core exercises, of course. And then your lifestyle modifications. Sleep is so important. Poor sleep is linked to weight gain and increased belly fat. Managing stress. You may know that having a lot of stress and reacting to it in a stressful way increases cortisol, which is a hormone that causes inflammation, and then avoiding alcohol. So all of these things that if you're part of our program, you're already working on and doing. So that's the good news. So we're all ahead of the game. But I hope that this kind of knowledge kind of even motivates you more to want to stick to program so that you can reduce your visceral fat. And if you don't know what your visceral fat is and you want to start tracking it, um, I can share a link to the Renfro scale in the comments, or you can ask your coach or ask on the Health Warriors page. And Karen, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah, I would love to know if anybody had questions about that. And just to reiterate, and Janet, please correct me if I get anything wrong. But visceral fat is just one of the things that we use to measure metabolic health, and it's one of the big ones because of this stress it can put on the organs. And when how I think of it, because I'm kind of like a big picture person in this way, is like all of these things put together kind of give doctors and ourselves an indication of how much strain we're putting on our systems. And then that strain can show up in different ways depending on the person. So um
Yep.
that's how I
Yeah.
think of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, so at this point, I'd love to, we can open it up to talk more about this topic, about metabolic health in general, and or if you want to share a win, we would love to hear that too. I don't know if Tuna can unmute. I know he could share a win. Um, well, I have a win that hasn't happened yet. I get to see Janet later this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
In person, and Nora. Nora can't be here tonight, but we'll see each other in person later this week.
All right, sorry, I was having a hard time getting to the unmute button. Yes, I have like revitalized my journey recently, and I'm down 10 pounds, so I'm very happy. It's good to be very active with my 5-in-1 again. And I do. I have the Rempo scale, and I love seeing all those numbers that it gives me. And it's tough getting that visceral fat down, but I'm looking forward for it to drop a number soon. That'll be a big celebration for me. But really good stuff for me lately.
That's great. Congratulations, Tuna. It really feels good to get back on the track when you've been off track, and getting those first 10 pounds off certainly feels wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, I think everyone's been stunned into silence, Janet.
Does anyone have any questions about that scale? Have you, anyone else have used it, have been resistant to using it, have um, planning on using it? What are your thoughts?
When you see the lean muscle body fat, I mean body muscle, is that trying to give you an indication what your weight should be? I always wonder about what that lean muscle body weight is.
I believe that's everything except body fat. It says lean body mass, right?
Yes, thank you. It's mass.
Yeah. So lean body mass is the total weight of your body minus all of the fat. And it actually includes skeletal muscle, bone mineral, internal organs, and water. So it's everything but fat.
Okay. That's
And
not what you should be shooting for. It's just you
right.
should always have a little fat.
Right. The skeletal muscle is the muscle that is attached to your bones that keeps you strong. So when you're on the 5-in-1, that's a number you want to make sure that that skeletal muscle is not decreasing, and it won't be. But I don't really look at all the numbers. The numbers I pay most attention to is the visceral fat, the total percent body fat, and then I like to look at the percent skeletal muscle to make sure that that number is not coming down.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, remember, these aren't 100% accurate. There are more accurate ways to measure these, this data, but it's not that convenient. So what's great about this is it's very inexpensive. It could be done at home, and it shows you a trend. So you're looking for a trend, but again, it's not 100% accuracy.
Yeah, and a lot of these numbers, correct me, they trend over time. Like most of them, they're not tending to shift a lot in any one week, right, Janet?
Right. You might have to lose, depending on where you're starting, you may have to lose 25 pounds before you start seeing your metabolic age come down and things like that. And the metabolic age, what that is um, it's basically the your metabolism is working like the average person of that age. So if your real age is 60 and your metabolic age is 70, that means you're burning calories like an average 70-year-old, which isn't great. You would rather be burning calories like an average 50-year-old because the younger you are, the more calories you're burning at rest. So that's a lot of people want to shoot for getting that age number, at least where they are or lower. So it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we wrap up for this week, all I know, I don't know if Janet has any other information, but all I know is that there are some changes coming. So we're gonna find out more at convention. Lots of new things are coming. We're very excited about them. And what we do know is that it's like just like Janet said tonight, it's all heading in the direction of really caring for our metabolic health, which is really more holistic than simply looking at that pounds on the scale number. And so we are heading to convention, and so we'll be able to share about what we find there next week at next week's hangout, and also we'll be sharing it in the Facebook group. And so I'm really excited about that. So I hope you'll be here to hear more about that. Do you have anything, Janet, to add before we wrap up?
No, but just that Optavia, the name is going to be changing as a heads up. It's going to be changing. There's going to be some new products and ingredients that are really going to help boost our metabolic health journey even more. So we're really excited about that.
Yes, absolutely. So Uh, can't wait for that. Before we close, I'm gonna just share some affirmations, and if any of them really resonate with you, I hope you'll incorporate them into your self-talk this week. I am worth the investment of my time and my energy. My habits are building a healthier version of me one day at a time. I trust the process, even on the days I can't see it working. Have an amazing week, everybody. Make it a healthy one. We'll see you back here.
Bye bye. Thanks. Good to see everybody.